Welcome. You're on the How to Entrepreneur YouTube channel where we talk about how to start a business and grow it from idea to full-time income and from full-time income to enterprise. My name is Tiffany Domina, and today we'll be talking about how to write content more consistently. So if you struggle with writing content consistently, or you're trying to write content online in order to attract customers and you're struggling with that, maybe you feel like you're writing as slow as peanut butter and you don't know maybe you're writing as slow as peanut butter and you don't know how to improve your writing speed. If that's your scenario, then this video is going to be perfect for you because that's what we'll be talking about. And so the tips that I'll share with you in this video have helped me and helped other people to write content more consistently and more faster. So let's jump right into it. There are some people who take lots and lots of, or days, weeks, months, in order to write content, and then there's other people who are able to push content out every day. And a huge part of why some people can produce so fast and some people produce so slow is just to do with the process. So in this video, I plan to share with you some ways that you can improve your process so that you can improve your writing efficiency and ultimately write more content, attract more customers, get more sales, and grow your business. So that's what this video is going to be all about. So let's jump right into it. So first, I want to talk about why should you blog even if you don't write well. Some people ask, why should I blog if I don't write well? And that's a really interesting question. And the answer is that you really don't have to. If you don't feel like you're good at blogging, you really don't have to. There's other ways to attract customers to your business aside from blogging. Right now, there's a huge surge in people wanting to blog because they feel like this is the way of the future and this is the way you have to do in order to get customers. But in all reality, you really don't have to. There's other options like podcasting, there's video marketing, there's direct mail, there's live speaking, there's webinars, there's paid advertising, there's door-to-door, there's public relations or press, getting media interviews. There's lots of ways to attract potential customers to your business, so don't feel like this is something you have to do. Now, if you're one of the people who spends days, weeks, or months on writing content, then it's likely that you could either be taken away from time that you could be spending doing your service or creating your product or distributing your product or other functions in your business. So you do have to decide, is this the correct marketing plan or is this the right marketing strategy for my business idea? It doesn't necessarily have to be, but blogging can be a very low cost way to attract new customers to your business. And that's how it's worked out for me, and that's how it's worked out for other people who call themselves bloggers. It's a low cost way of getting the attention of potential customers to the product or services that we offer. So as a result, like, I'm a huge fan of blogging and other people are as well, but it doesn't mean that it's something you have to do. So the next question is, how long should it take to write a blog post? And this is really going to depend from person to person. It's going to depend based on your skill level. It's going to depend whether or not you're writing in the same in your first language. It's going to depend on whether or not you're competent in the subject you're writing about, how much research you have to do in order to feel competent, your level of confidence. It's going to depend on quite a few factors. But one other thing it's going to depend on is what content types you're writing, you're doing. So there's content types like ultimate guides, then there's list posts, then there's how-tos and tutorials. And some content types require a lot more time than others. For example, if you're in the DIY home improvement space, then you might be doing lots of images, you might be doing lots of video content and mixing that into written content. And so you might have some really content heavy, image heavy posting, and it might take quite a bit of time. And on top of that, you actually have to complete a project in order to have something to write about. So some niches will require a lot more time for a post because they have to complete a project in order to complete the post. So that's going to be a little different. But if you're just talking about a post that's 1,000 words where you're explaining a topic, then that post should be able to be done in 4 to 6 hours. And so this is something that you want to challenge yourself to be able to accomplish, but it's also something that you can time yourself, see where you are today, and continue to challenge your efficiency over time so that you can really improve your efficiency. Now, if you do decide to do a lengthier post, or if this is going to be the bulk of the content that you create, that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It just means that you are creating less content but higher quality. And so you want to make sure you're really spending a lot of time distributing that content so that you can get the same impact of someone who's posting more frequently. So these are some things to think about. Now, I want to get right into my list of 28 ways to write faster. And these are tips that I personally use. These are tips that I've shared with other people before. And some of them, I share here and there, but this is like the first time I've really sat down, compiled everything I know about how to write faster and everything I've done and tried to write faster so that you can benefit from this information. So if you are looking to improve your writing speed or to write faster, then definitely stay tuned for the rest of this video so that I can share with you these 28 tips. So now the first tip that I have is eliminate distractions. So when I started blogging, I was active duty. I was in school getting my degree. I had a new marriage. I was a newlywed, and I had a young son. During that time frame, I was able to write and publish 15 books, also get them narrated and sold on Audible. And so I was able to produce a lot in a short period of time. And it's not because the books didn't have sufficient word count. I think all of the books are over 15,000 words. So 15 books at over 15,000 words is quite a bit of content that I created. On top of that, I have more than one blog that has over 100 posts on it. And some have, significantly more than that. So I've written well over 1 million words when you add it all together. And I've probably done this multiple times. And I did it on top of having other responsibilities like being a mom. Now I have 2 kids, being a wife, being involved in my community, at one point having a job, a full-time job. So these tips can help you even if you have a lot going on, but you definitely have to eliminate distractions. And so that's why this is the first tip that I am giving to you, because one thing I did to really make sure that I was maximizing my productivity is I would find time blocks that I could use that I could make sure that the distractions would be at a minimum. So for example, I knew that if I got my son to go to sleep consistently at the same time, then after he's asleep, I can use a time block at that point. I can separate myself from where he is so that I won't be interrupting him when I'm moving around, and I can work at that time. I also knew that while I was at work, I have a lunch hour, or maybe less than an hour. But either way, I had time that I could I could separate myself, maybe find an empty office, close the door, and get some brainstorming done, or get some writing done, or do something towards my business during that time, because they didn't care if I worked, as long as I ate and I was still able to be productive when I come back from lunch. So I would use that time. Sometimes I would go to the library. We had a library really close to where I worked at. And sometimes I would go to the library, do some research, so that when I had another time block, then I would be able to be full of information and be able to just flesh out content. So this is something that you can practice, is find times when you can eliminate distractions. Find ways to eliminate distractions from the time blocks that you do have to work on your business. Another key thing that you can do to eliminate distractions is to communicate. So for me, I talked to my husband and told him that this is my goal. I really want to finish a book. And so I want to use some time in the evening after the kids go to sleep, and I want to be able to work on this book. I also talked to my friends, let them know what I was going to be doing, so I didn't have phone calls and things like that would come up unless it was really serious. So communication is going to be really important as well, because your time may change. Your friends and family might have the same expectations if you don't communicate with them and let them know that this is something you plan to do. And by communicating, you can eliminate some of the distractions you might have, and you can have some time blocks without distractions. So, number one, eliminate distractions. And some other things you can do to, even if you can't find time where you're not in a public place, or you can't completely eliminate distractions, some things that really help out is to have earplugs. You can put earplugs in, so that way you're not hearing all of the background noise, and so that you can focus on what you're doing. You can also set up a room or find a room that's quiet. I've heard of some people use a friend's room or a friend's space, or they go over to someone else's house. They might get a co-working space or different things like that, so that they can eliminate distractions and be able to be as productive as possible. And like I said before, choosing times when things settle down, so that you are able to eliminate some of those distractions. So number two is to find inspiration. So I've worked with many bloggers or many startup affiliate marketers, many startup entrepreneurs, and who are using blogging or content writing in some way to attract customers. And what I often see is that they experience what's called writer's block a lot when they first get started. And a part of the reason is because they sit down at the computer and they open their WordPress or their Microsoft Word or their Google Docs or whatever they plan to use to write the content, maybe even directly on their social media page. And they're sitting there with the cursor flashing, and they're like, where do I start? What's the first thing I should do? And so I think the first thing you should do is find inspiration. So instead of sitting there looking at a blank screen, then you want to go to sites like Pinterest and look at what the conversation is. You want to go to places like YouTube and find out what the conversation is already in the market. You can Google keywords that are relevant to your target audience or relevant to your niche, and find out what the conversation is, and then start to get ideas from there instead of trying to get ideas from a blank screen. So number two is find inspiration. Number three is be versatile with post types. So for me, I've had times where I have a lot going on. Maybe my daughter has an event at her school, or my son has an event at his school. And then I also have, I might also have a deadline that I want to meet in my business. So maybe I want to publish a video, or maybe I want to publish an article on the same day that I have events with my kids. So in times like that where I know I'm crunched for time, but I still want to produce for my business, then I have to be conscious about what post types I choose. So I usually pick topics that I'm highly knowledgeable about, or topics that I know won't take me a lot of time to produce. So I won't pick an ultimate guide for search engine optimization and decide to try to write that on the day that my daughter has her event, because I know I won't be able to do all the research. I know that that article could be 10,000 words or more. I know that I know it just will require too much for me to try to do all of those things. So you also want to be self-aware of what you're capable of, so that you can decide if you are trying to do too much. And that self-awareness comes over time and just with practice. Once you keep practicing, then you'll see that you cap out at a certain amount. And so you don't want to overbook yourself. So be versatile. There's different post types, like curated posts, where you might be gathering together the list of best chocolate chip cookie ingredients. Like, for example, if you were writing a post about the best chocolate chip cookie recipes, then you might just be going to different blogs and looking for different chocolate chip cookie recipes, and maybe that you've tried already, and then you would be curating all of those posts, and it might be easier for you to produce than if you were trying to come up with your own chocolate chip cookie recipe. So you just want to be creative and think about ways that you can write a post that is going to be valuable to your target audience, but that you can produce in a short period of time. So for me, when I run into situations like that, I tend to fall back on a topic that I'm already knowledgeable about, so that I can cut back on the research time, and something that I have a wealth of information about, so that way I can just like flesh out content that's already like deeply rooted inside. So be versatile with your content types. Even if you had the plans to do a longer article, if something comes up, your tire goes flat, you have less time in the day, then you may have to pivot and choose a different article topic so that you can still be productive that day. Number 4 is do competitive analysis. So competitive analysis is a way for you to understand the conversation that's already in the market. So if you do competitive analysis, like I mentioned before, maybe you are going on Pinterest, maybe you go to local live events, maybe you join your chamber of commerce, maybe you become a part, just start to go and be around your target audience more. All of these things are ways that you can find out what the conversation is surrounding the topics that you might be writing about. And when you find out what that conversation is, it can help you to come up with ideas. It can help you to decide on which headlines might be suitable, or what topics might really be catchy, or what pain points you could really address in your content. So do competitive analysis. Number 5, try dictation. So some people find it easier to speak than to type. Some people find it easier to speak than to write. So you don't necessarily have to start from the written word. You can start from something like a video or an audio recording and transcribe it into text. Or you can use dictation software where, like, I think it's Dragon Naturally Speaking. I think it might also be called Nuance. And Google Docs even has a speech to text feature, but you can use that feature and see how that works out for you. It does take some practice, but you might find that you can be more efficient when you are speaking versus when you are writing. I've seen people who use dictation if they break a hand, or maybe they get an injury of some sort that prevents them from being able to write, or even maybe they don't speak English as their first language, or whatever language they're blogging in, they don't speak that as their first language, but they can speak it fluently. So if any of these is your scenario, dictation might be really helpful for you and help you to really improve your writing speed. So try dictation, even if it's for a short period of time, and maybe you're only doing dictation while you are healing from whatever, then try dictation. It could be a way to still maintain your productivity or improve your productivity even while you are going through a certain scenario. So number 6 is try the batch method. So for many content creators, they batch different portions of their writing process. So for example, they might batch their keyword research. So you might do all of your keyword research for the quarter on one day. And so you have all of these keywords that you plan to target over the course of the quarter. You might do all of your graphics in one day. You might do all of your research for the next month, because maybe you decide to write about a relevant topic over the course of the month. So, for example, maybe you are writing about something like search engine optimization, and you're going to be writing everything to do with search engine optimization for the whole month or the whole quarter. So you can batch your research where you just take a series of time and you're just getting inundated with information about search engine optimization, and then from there you're writing the articles, but you don't have to do as much heavy hours of research as when you batch it. So these are just some ideas. Some people also find that writing separately than editing works really well. So you can do your writing and then go back and do your editing, and also do your search engine optimization separately, instead of writing and then going back and editing your words as you're writing, and going in and adding all your keywords as you're writing. So if you separate those processes, that can also help with improving your efficiency. Adding images is also a part of the process that you can separate to improve your efficiency. So number 7 is use templates, and this is something that I personally do, is to use a blog post template. So over time, I've been able to see what is normal for my blog posts. So when I write my reviews, what do I normally include in them? When I write my comparison posts, what do I normally include there? And when I write my tutorials, what usually is included there? So, and I have my blog post templates that I give away for free on my website, so I can leave a link in the description box below where you can check out those blog post templates and see if they're helpful for you. But blog post templates can really help, because instead of sitting down again at a blank screen, you start out with prompts. So my blog post templates start by asking me like questions, so then I can start to fill in the information, and it's really much more efficient for me to write starting with a template than to write without one. So definitely, if you haven't yet checked out the blog post templates, then stop by and check those out and see how those work out for you. But they should definitely help you to write faster. Number 8 is study your audience. So go to events, go to live webinars, go to join groups, take online classes, do various things where you can be surrounded by your target audience. You can have a better understanding of what problems they might be experiencing, because when you understand your audience very well, then you can easily come up with ideas, and you can easily decide on what angle to approach these ideas, how to speak to them well, and you won't be, you can be more confident in your writing because you know that you're addressing their problems. So, studying your audience can be another very effective way to improve your writing speed. Number 9, it piggybacks on studying your audience, but number 9 is identify pain points and desires. And what I mean by that is that when you study your audience, you'll get to know what causes them pain, what is their desired outcomes. So, for example, when we talk about entrepreneurs, then a lot of the entrepreneurs, or especially startup entrepreneurs, a lot of startup entrepreneurs might have a job that they dislike. They might have an idea that they feel really passionate about. They might have skills that they feel like are untapped, so they're not feeling a lot of fulfillment. They have all of these different pain points, right? And their desired outcome is maybe that they have a business that supports their family. They have less caps on their income potential. They have more time freedom or time flexibility. They can make more choices with their time. They have more ability to express themselves and to come up with ideas or actually execute on them. So these are some of the pain points and desires for aspiring entrepreneurs. But for you, you might work with people who maybe you might have a business where you teach people how to read or something like that, and you really want to understand the pain points and the desired outcome for that target audience. So maybe the target audience might actually be parents who want their kids to learn how to read, and their concerns are that they don't want their kids to have developmental delays, and they want their kids to have the creativity that comes along with reading. They want their kids to be able to pass in school, and so these are some of the desired outcomes, and some of the pain points might be that they don't know where to start, that they are struggling with getting them to understand their vowel sounds, and on and on and on. So these are some things that you want to learn about your target audience, is their pain points and their desired outcomes. So number 10 is a practical one. It might be kind of funny to you, but use multiple screens. So when you have a single screen, you might find yourself going between tab after tab. And if you're writing, you might also be citing sources or trying to find additional information. Like maybe you decide to put in a definition of a specific word. So you have to go and find that definition. So you Google that, and you're doing that on another tab. And then you're trying to go back to your writing document and put in the definition into that document, but you forget exactly what it says. So then you have to keep flipping back and forth between the tabs so that you can transfer the information accurately. But if you had two screens, then you can have the definition opened over here, and you can look and transfer the content and look and transfer the content, and you won't have to go back and forth between tabs. So using multiple screens can actually be another way to improve your efficiency. If that's possible for you, then definitely consider using multiple screens. Number 11, study good blog writers. So there are people who are really successful at blogging, and a lot of times you might get stuck on something like how to write your intro paragraph, or how to do a smooth transition from one section to the next section, or how to use a voice that's more relatable, or all of these things could be confusing for you, or even just understanding the audience better. You can understand them better when you understand the issues that another successful blogger has been helping them with. So you might not have ever realized that that moms of young kids might also want to make money online. You might never have realized that unless you look at different successful bloggers and you find out that this target audience also might be interested in this as well. So study successful bloggers, and you'll find a lot about different audience skews. You'll find a lot about how to communicate with different audiences. You'll find a lot about just ideas for how to start an intro paragraph, how to transition from one topic to the next topic smoothly, how to be relatable, and what's an easy way to explain an explicit topic, So these are some things that you can get help with by studying other bloggers, and that improves your writing speed because you'll have these ideas in mind, so you won't get hung up on different obstacles like that. Number 12, network with other bloggers. So sometimes you might have different technical hiccups like page speed or load time or bounce rate or so many other things that as you're writing, you might be trying to think about how to avoid all of these different problems. And because you're trying to address all these problems while you're writing, then it's slowing you down. So definitely network with other bloggers, because some of the problems that you might be facing, they might have overcome already, and you can exchange ideas. So, other careers, you are able to do it. So definitely is something that bloggers should do as well. Number 13, keep track of when inspiration hits. So sometimes you might be at the vehicle maintenance shop, you're getting your oil change or something like that, and you come up with a great blog post idea or a great way to explain an idea that you have, and you should really write it down or record it in some way. Sometimes I use my phone and I'll record an audio of myself explaining something, or you can use your camera on your phone and just record a quick video, or you can just take a journal and write it down. So make sure to document, keep track of when inspiration hits. So that's number 13. Number 14, find an inspiration trigger. So some people say that they do their chores and that helps them to be inspired. Some people like nature, so they'll go and sit in a natural setting, might sit in a foresty area or sit on a beach or something like that, and that might inspire them. Some people might go to a live event and be inspired by that, but whatever the case is, you want to find out what triggers your inspiration, what gets that flow of ideas coming forward for you, so that you are like stopping and starting on your blog post, but instead you're bubbling over with information, you're bubbling over with inspiration and motivation, and you're able to just get the content out. So find an inspiration trigger. I know other people find music, dance, or the arts, all of those can be triggers. For me, some TV shows even are inspirational. I'll watch a show like Shark Tank or another entrepreneurial show, and then it might give me ideas about problems that entrepreneurs have that just wasn't in the front of my mind. So, definitely find what is an inspiration trigger for you. Number 15 is to use a spell check or grammar check software. I personally like to use Grammarly. I can leave a link to that in the description box below. But there's different spell check and grammar check software. And sometimes if you are really trying to analyze your commas and your punctuation and your spelling and how you used word tenses, if you're trying to do all of that manually, then it will take longer to write. But if you can find a tool that helps to alleviate some of that burden, then it can make your writing speed much more efficient. So definitely try a spell check software. And like I said, I'll leave a link in the description box below so you can try out the one that I use. So number 16, give yourself an incentive for getting done. So for me, I like to I have my goals, I have my quarterly goals, my annual goals, and the incentive for me is progress. But for some people, they really need more incentives, especially when starting out. So you might have to decide what is a good incentive that I can give myself. What is a good reward that I can give myself for accomplishing this milestone? So you can come up with a positive reinforcement plan for yourself to reward yourself for meeting this milestone. So that's another way. I know I use incentive plans for my kids to get them to do things like cleaning their room. And a lot of businesses use incentive plans to get their sales teams to meet certain sales goals. So for you, you definitely want to decide what those incentives are and how you can stay inspired, stay motivated, so that you can keep your writing speed as fast as possible. Number 17, you want to do time sessions and challenge yourself. So, if you're professional at writing, then you want to be able to be as efficient as possible. And you find that people who are professional at things like running or shooting baskets or other professions, they time themselves and it helps them to improve their performance. So as a writer, you can also apply those same principles of time challenges, of setting a certain deadline for yourself, and all of these things to help with improving your efficiency and help with your writing speed. So number 18, you want to create an editorial calendar. So if you haven't seen my video about how to create an editorial calendar, definitely check out that video or check out the blog post. I'll leave a link in the description box below where you can check that out. But an editorial calendar is so key because you plan out your monthly, annual, quarterly goals for your business, and you decide what content would help you to get to that goal more effectively. And when you sit down at your computer, you already have a plan. So you're plugging into what's already been made. So you're not starting from a blank slate. So create an editorial calendar to make sure that you're writing things that will help you get to your goals and to make sure you're not always starting from scratch. So number 19 is use the time blocking method for scheduling your day. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier that I would find time blocks in the evening or find time blocks during lunchtime, find time blocks in the morning when I was working. And then after I separated from the military and I started to work in my husband's business, then I would find time blocks around that. And so you can use the time blocking method to figure out what is the normal pattern of your schedule during the day, and when can you block out some time? What can you maneuver around in your day to increase a time block or to make a time block smaller for something. So what I did was I sat down and wrote down what tasks I normally do in the day, and what tasks could I actually spend less time on, and what can I do to spend less time on those tasks. And then I tried to set a goal of how much of a time block I could fit in each part of my day so that I can work on my business. And the time blocking method really worked very effectively for me. I can do a video talking more about the time blocking method if that's interesting to you. Definitely leave a comment and let me know. But you can just set goals. Try to block 15 minutes here or block 15 minutes there. You can set small time blocks and just use those time blocks. Try to eliminate as many distractions during that 15 minutes as possible, and find little slots of time that you can use without distractions, and that you can get some writing done. So time blocking can be very effective. Number 20, research until you're bubbling with information. So for me, I found that research is something that I can do while multitasking. So like when my daughter was a baby, I used to listen to audiobooks while I'd be walking her in the stroller, because she would go to sleep when she would be in the stroller. So I'd be pushing her in the stroller and listening to an audiobook that is helping me to understand what I'll be writing about later. I might also be watching a YouTube video or listening to a YouTube video while I'm pushing the stroller or something like that. And I could do those things while I'm exercising or while I'm doing chores. I could be really filling myself up with ideas and information so that when I find that time block where I can write, I'm bubbling over with so much information that it doesn't take me a long time to write the content. So that's also something that you can do, is you can maybe you can find opportunities where multitasking would be appropriate, and you can do your research during those times and flesh out the content when you find time blocks to do it. Number 21, use a word processing software that's easy for you to use. So for me, I've used Google Docs, I've used Microsoft Word, I've written directly in WordPress, I've written using site content. I've tried different word processing softwares, and some of them are easier to use than others. I find a lot of people find it difficult to use Gutenberg or to write directly into WordPress, and they would prefer to write somewhere else. Sometimes they prefer the autosave method or the autosave feature that is in Google Docs or that is in site content. So find what word processing software works well for you. If you find that you're writing directly in WordPress and you keep losing your posts or something like that, then use a different word processing software so you're not starting over and over and over again, or so that you're not losing information and being inefficient there. So for me, the one that I like to recommend is Site Content, the platform that was created by Wealthy Affiliate. is so efficient because it helps you to keep your goals. You can actually you can keep your goals. You can write inside of there. You can keep your templates and everything inside of there. And also, it is integrated with Unsplash and Pixabay, all these different stock image companies, so that you can find your images directly in there. So I'll definitely show you how that works. So now we're inside of the site content platform. This is a part of the Wealthy Affiliate membership. So when you go to, you see they have the writing stats, and you can track your writing goals. So you can, if you want to be able to write a certain amount within a certain time frame. So as you can see, some of the writing goals that I had before, 15,000 words, 10,000 words. And so I'll put my goals in here, and it will help me to track my goals. And then it'll help you track also how much you're writing. So in 2018, I wrote 603,879 words inside of site content. In 2019, I did 392,371 words inside of site content. So you can kind of see how it went. And then in 2020, or actually in the end of 2019 is when I moved my site from Wealthy Affiliate Hosting to Kinsta Hosting, so that I can start to have DNS access and do more with creating products and things like that. So anyway, but this was one of the best features that I enjoyed about having my site hosted at Wealthy Affiliate. And when I start to build out more affiliate sites, then I plan to keep them here. So I'll I want to show you how it goes when you're writing inside of the platform. You can keep your templates here. So I have several templates here, and when you just decide to write, you create new, and you can start from a writing template. And then let's say I want to do I'll start with a buyer's guide. Okay, so I have my template already here, and then it tells me what my goal is for this template, how many paragraphs, how many headings, how many words, and then it's also tracking whether or not I'm accomplishing the goal, whether or not I have all the headings, whether or not I have all the paragraphs, and so on and so forth. So this is a really cool tool that you can use to write content, and I feel like it drastically improves your efficiency. When you want to add an image, then let's say I want to add an image of blogging, then it'll pull all of these images from the different stock image sites, so that I don't have to worry about copyright infringement or anything like that. And I can just choose the image, and it'll put it inside of the article. I can add my alt tags, the link. I can align it however I want and insert it inside. And then you can change the alignment. Okay, so you can do all kinds of things directly in here. And another cool thing is when I want to publish it, I can publish it to any of the sites that are hosted here at Wealthy Affiliate. So that's a super cool feature. So if you, depending on what word processor you're using, if you're writing directly in Gutenberg, that could be slowing you down from writing. If you're writing in Microsoft and then transferring it into Gutenberg, or if you're writing from Google Docs and transferring into Gutenberg, that could really be slowing you down. If you don't need access to DNS and all of those things, then maybe hosting it right at Wealthy Affiliate might be the best thing for you, and you can use this site content feature. So definitely check this out if you haven't already. Number 21, keep writing goals. So you want to find out how much are you trying to produce over what period of time, and track your productivity. Sometimes just knowing that you're getting close to that deadline can really motivate you to want to get more done. If you realize how that goal plays into your bigger plans, like if you know that this one blog post is really gonna make a difference for where you get at the end of the quarter, then it can push you to be more productive. I know, just feeling that sense of scarcity that you don't have a lot, or that you know, this piece of content really plays into your overall plan, then that sense of scarcity can really push up your speed and your effectiveness. Number 23, write about things that are within your scope of expertise. If you decide to, I told you I work with several different bloggers, and some of the bloggers are starting their businesses without having services and without having products already, and maybe not even having affiliate partnerships or an idea of what type of business they want to start. So when you're starting from that position, then sometimes you, like a lot of people will, they won't think about how they spent all of their childhood in art schools, or how they spent so much time gardening, and that was really something they were so passionate about at one point, or how they love acting or something like that. They don't think about all of these passions that they have, and instead they might see someone who's making hundreds of thousands of dollars in the personal finance niche, so they decide, I'm going to start a website on personal finance, but they don't know anything about personal finance. So it's really important to start with to use your expertise. If you leverage your expertise, it'll take you less research time. It'll take you, you'll be more motivated to do the writing. Your writing speed will be faster because you have passion, you have motivation, you have expertise. All of those things work in tandem. If you decide to write on a topic that you don't have the expertise about, then it can be harder because you're starting from scratch with research. You might not have the same level of passion about the topic. And so all of those things really have to work in tandem. So number 24, don't spend a lot of time on perfectionism. So a lot of people will try to have the perfect blog post. So they want everything to be perfect, every punctuation to be perfect, every word tense, every image has to be perfectly tailored to the content. Of course, you want the highest quality content, but you have to set a limit on how much analyzing you're going to do over the same piece of content. At some point, you have to say, this one's complete and I'm moving to the next one. So, it's really, really good to set a time limit on how long you're going to spend on a piece of content, to set a deadline. And so that's another thing that the editorial calendar would help with. But it's really important to set all of these things up. I'll leave a link in the description box below where you can check out that free editorial calendar template. And that can also help you to improve your writing efficiency. Number 25, be confident. I have talked to so many people about starting a business, and one of the things that often happens in the early stages or even as the business is growing is confidence goes like a roller coaster. So at some point they may feel like, who am I to speak on this topic? Who am I to try to help people in this topic? I've struggled with it too. You might ask, why would someone listen to me? Or what do I have to say that hasn't already been said? These are some common questions that people say. And so it stops them from either writing about a topic, or they spend a lot of time writing on the topic because they feel incompetent. So if you really are incompetent, if you don't have the knowledge about it, then maybe you shouldn't write about it. But if you do have the knowledge about it and the willingness to put the research behind it, then write on it with confidence. And because that lack of confidence can take so much time away from your productivity, and you won't be able to produce at the rate that you could if you were confident. So sometimes it's just a mindset thing that causes you to be less efficient. Number 26, observe things that might be slowing you down. Now, I know that this list has given you a lot of things that you might have noticed in your process that might be slowing you down, but some of the process is going to take self-actualization. And I told you that I had to analyze myself and how much I was able to produce, how much my personal life is intruding on my work time, how much my work time is intruding on my personal life, and vice versa. And some things just take some time to self-actualize and figure out what are you actually capable of doing. How much time does this content type take you versus that one? It takes you some time to figure out whether you actually are slow or whether you are spending enough time on keyword research or whether you aren't spending enough time on a certain part of the process. So self-actualization is going to be a big part of the process, even in deciding what your distractions might be. You might decide that you're more distracted by notifications from social media, and maybe you have to cut back on that. Or maybe you're more distracted by food. Maybe you keep taking snack breaks and you're not being effective with your writing, or maybe you're taking too many naps, or the list can go on and on of things that could eliminate or stop you from being as productive as you could be. But you definitely have to take some time to self-analyze and see what could be improved, what you could cut back on, what you can invest more into. Because sometimes you might need to take a class. Maybe you need to take a class on spelling and grammar. Maybe you need to take a class on writing, and that could help you. I personally have, so maybe that could help you as well. Number 27, get your rest. So, of course, this is a very simple and basic one, but I know for me, I've had times where I'm sitting at my computer, I'm trying to get content out, and I'm just not enough. And so when that happens, then it might take me, a full day to get one blog post out that could normally take me less than 4 hours. So in that case, getting your rest can really cut back on taking so much time. And if you work and you have kids and other responsibilities, there might be some times when you have to give yourself some grace, because even if you decide that you're gonna stay up after everybody else goes to sleep, maybe you're just too tired to actually get something done. And maybe if you just spent some time, got your rest, and woke up in the morning, you might be more efficient that way. So get your rest. And number 28 is practice. So we talked about all of these different ways that you can improve your writing speed or that you can write faster. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to self-analyze. You're going to have to challenge yourself. You're going to have to try possibly all of these different things at some point or another. And what's really going to make them work for you is practicing. So you won't be able to just try dictation one time and then it's just going to be the silver bullet that solves the problem and makes you go from spending days writing to spending an hour writing. So really, you're going to have to practice. And just the more you do it, the better you get at it. And so if you're feeling like you are writing slow, like pouring peanut butter, it does get better. And if you just keep putting your best effort forward, you'll get better and better and better over time. So practice. And even having accountability partners or having someone who is more experienced than you are in writing to look over what you've done, give you feedback, and help you to make sure you're practicing correctly can be so vital for your growth curve. So these are my 28 ways to help improve your writing speed. I hope this was really, really helpful for you. If you need help with writing and getting more customers with your blogging or with your content marketing, then definitely try my coaching program. You get 7 days where you can try it out for free. It includes software and everything that you need to be successful in your online business. You get lots of support. You get coaching from me, and you also get the software that you need, the market research tools, the hosting, the domain registration, all of those things. And you can try everything out for 7 days for free. So I'll leave the information in the description box below so that you can check that out. And I'd love to help you to grow your business. So if you have any more questions about how to write blog posts fast, or you have any more tips that you'd like to share for what you do to write blog posts faster, I would love to hear them. Leave them in the comment section below, and I'll definitely respond to your comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this where I do product and service reviews as well as buyer's guides and growth strategies to help you grow a business from idea to full-time income and from full-time income to enterprise, then definitely subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon so you can be notified of upcoming videos. That's all I have for this video, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.